Hello, and welcome to You Can Grow Your Own Way, a conversation for parents and carers of neurodivergent children. I feel so privileged you are taking time out of your busy life to learn all about the ways to interpret neurodivergence for you and your child. Remember, all advice on this podcast is general and may not specifically apply to your child, so we encourage you to also talk to your GP, paediatrician or specialist to see if what you've learned will help your family. Hello and welcome to our first ever lived experience episode of You Can Grow Your Own Way, a conversation for parents and carers of neurodivergent children. We have 3 parents joining us today and we're going to be talking about friendship. Now, generally, when we're talking neurodivergent children, we're talking social situations amongst neurodivergent children. But this time we're actually going to be talking about what it's like to make and keep friends as a parent of a neurodivergent child. And I've got these 3 incredible parents sharing their own experiences with us so we can see what the journey is like for others and understand and connect with how it compares to ours. So normally at this point in the conversation, I would do a bio. Instead, I've decided to let the parents introduce themselves because they are sharing their very own personal journeys. So I think we're in for a bit of a treat, maybe some tears, definitely some laughs. So let's jump in. So I might start with you, Jack. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your family?
Certainly. So I'm Jack. I'm a professional in my 50s. My wife is also in her 50s. The 2 of us have a beautiful little 11-year-old boy who suffers from PTSD and ADHD as well as other things, and he's in year 6 this year.
Beautiful. Thank you. Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm a single parent carer of 3 children, 10, 8 and 6, girl, boy, girl, who are all neurodivergent, ASD, ADHD, some sensory processing and auditory processing challenges, and some anxiety tied into that as well. I've had the children since they were babies, but not since birth.
Beautiful. And Ange.
I have to write this down because I often forget how many acronyms I'm about to spurt out, but it does give you this kind of world where neurodivergency comes with a whole heap of kind of terms that kind of interact.
Uh-huh.
So I've got 17-year-old twins and a nearly 16-year-old, 16 months apart, all neurodivergent. Twin 1 is autistic, ADHD, OCD, defiance disorder, sensory disorder. She's just had Tourette's because NDIS wanted that one added to the list as well. She has had Tourette's. Generalized anxiety, social anxiety, OCD, I think I've mentioned. So she's got more. And ARFID, she was an infantile anorexic, and now more ARFID, so difficulty in feeding. Twin 2, ADHD, OCD, and is currently with a massive eating disorder in hospital at the moment, which is very associated with ADHD and anorexia. And they're finding with mast cells and the profile of with ADHD as they're doing research in it. And the youngest one, who is nearly 16, she is ADHD, OCD, generalized anxiety, or anxiety too. Social anxiety and selective mutism. See, I get all confused, but there's a lot going on, and currently now has long COVID quite through mast cell activation, which is very ADHD neurodiverse as well. So we kind of got a whole lot of intellectually disabled too. See, I miss them. Intellectually disabled too, yes, as well. So there you go. So I've got quite a big gamut. They're older, but we've been dealing with these things for a long time.
We love the alphabet. Just a reminder for those listening. So I've got 3, and we've talked about before that mine are adopted, and so they all have an element of trauma, intra-utero trauma, which comes with anxiety, as well as the anxiety that is brought on through neurodivergence, insisting in a neurotypical world. My oldest, Mr. 9, has ADHD, anxiety, PTSD, suspected FASD. He's also gifted, so he's 2E and hyperlexic. Oh, and I know I'm forgetting something
I
because
know.
me too. I always forget some of the letters. Mr. 7, we're talking FASD, ADHD, and anxiety. And then Miss 5 is going to be reassessed for ADHD. We will be having a very big conversation soon around girls and diagnosis. And I'm sure there are some parents that are currently on this chat that could talk about
Okay.
girls and diagnosis. But we're going to be waiting until she's halfway through prep and giving it a crack again because we know it's there. We just need to wait for it to show up on the child behaviour checklist. So, yeah, an alphabet going on for us as well at Homes. I'm getting lots of, I suppose, for those who are listening, lots of diverse perspectives in terms of what people are engaging with in their parenting lives. Really appreciate the truth and honesty that you guys exposed for us there. Thank you so much. I also, and it's not to blow wind, to listen to everything that you guys do. I know firsthand. Bloody amazing. You're awesome. We do so much more on top of all of the normal parenting to actually juggle all of the additional needs that our children have, to understand them, to support them. So, huge thumbs up to you guys. That's truly heartfelt. And all the more that I appreciate you guys taking some time out of that incredibly busy day to talk to us today. So, look, I'm going to dive in with the main question for this topic, and then we'll kind of dive into little channels of it a little bit more. I might call on you first, Rachel, and then we'll see if this leads into a bigger conversation. What do you think you've identified as the differences that you observe in the friendships, the adult friendships that you have, that is different to parents who have neurotypical children?
Just, I think the ability to be able to truly relate, compared to, say, my friendships where they have children, but not neurodiverse children or any real experience in that. And yeah, so I think that, there's almost like a division that silently creeps in because they don't get it, or you don't think that they get it, even though they are, with all good intentions and heartwarmingly trying to. There's definitely a silent separation, I think, that is going on in my experience. And also because, your children don't necessarily interact the same way. So they don't play together the same way. So play dates and parent catch-ups are not necessarily a priority anymore because they just don't work as well anymore. And there's also sometimes those underlying tones that they might try to understand and say that they do, but I don't think that their actions necessarily would say that. So, yeah. I don't know if I've answered the question, but yeah.
You beautifully answered the question. I really appreciate that. I'm going to draw attention to something, and I hope it's okay that I do. But I noticed while you were saying that there was a very big breath in and out. And it's funny, like this topic for me, it kind of does the same thing. Uh, there's a little, so I can show it on camera. There's a little pit for me right here when I talk about it that I can't get rid of. It's there, and it's yeah, I am going to use that word. It's unjust. It feels unjust, and I think that's what sits there. So, Jack, have you got anything that you would like to add from your experience?
Yes, I think the others around me, they seem to fall into relationships, both the kids and adults, by default, which it just happens, whereas we always seem to have to work on it. And then you put the effort in and then things don't get reciprocated. And then when you stop making the effort, things just stop.
Yeah, that's a really interesting observation. That you have to put in all the extra effort for things to happen. Ange, have you got a note you'd like to share?
I having my kids are a bit older, so and it changes, and the challenges that you have with your children change. You're talking about the ADHD. When I got diagnosed with ADHD, it's always been there, but it didn't seem to matter so much, but we needed that for something else, And when you've got these complex kids, when you're starting out at school and you might not know they're neurodiverse, but there's something up. They're not they're the kid that might like mine did, scream the separation, scream the school down that they had to set up a different classroom, and you'll become that parent. And for parenting, or certainly in my mummy, when I first had children, I kind of thought it would be all baby chinos and big pieces of cake, and it wasn't. Never has been. everything has its own stress. Things have to be planned, such and such. And when it comes to friendships, you've got this thing, and I term it Olympic parenting as well, where you kind of go, I didn't sleep for years. I'd fall asleep at traffic lights to get that few seconds. And I know there are other parents who may have neurotypical kids that don't sleep, but I didn't get my first night really till 11 or 12. 9 years, everything. There's 3 of them. And although I got a night's sleep, I didn't get enough. There would be some wake up, I must admit. It got better at 10 or 11. It wasn't so bad. I would have been dead, that lack of sleep in that first year. But what I'm saying is that with friendships and you're making the time, you don't have the time, you're stressed. You've got people, you might say, I haven't had sleep, and you might get someone coming up at you as saying, well, my kid sleeps all night and everything like that. And you're already going through the struggle, the personal struggle. You're becoming someone and changing. You're changing yourself. I'm not the same person I was before children. I don't really want to be that person. That's okay. But you're still changing. And then there's the grief that comes with parenting. Your kid might be the biter. Your kid is the screamer. Your kid is such and such. And you're dealing and wrestling with it. And so it's very hard to relate to people, because I think even in this neurodiverse world, we've all got different experiences. And connection with kindness and kindness and compassion, you actually often, and this is just, I can only talk about myself, I didn't have kindness and compassion for myself, let alone being able to actually experience it or expect it or want it. Because I was thinking it was my fault, or what can I do better, or how can I keep navigating these things? And I still, at this age, when they're late teens, still at this stage go, what can I do to make this better, for them? And there's the grief within, but there's the grief of watching your child suffer. And I think all of those things, when you're connecting with the friends, I think it's a very lonely. I don't know where you would find someone that can really connect with you fully, like you did when you had pre-kids,
Yeah, I think that's so well summarized. And it's funny, it's not something I'd actually noted down here, but the point you've made around the constant guilt and grief that we feel throughout the experience is huge. And when you do need a way to express that, it's very hard to find someone who will completely understand that and take that and reflect it back to you in a way that is helpful. So it's a really great point.
Listen, because you might be talking to, other parents at that stage, and they're going through their own thing. I mean, raising kids is difficult. So, I'll give an example. I had a family member had one child. That child was a sleeper and an eater. And then there was the complaints. This person wanted to talk about how horrible it was that her child just wanted to speak to her, and they would just go out and it would just be her. And I'm desperate for that. And I found it very hard being in that person's, listening to the troubles that person had. So I was the shitty friend then. But also was kind of overlaying with the fact of, I haven't slept in days, weeks. I dream of that, because I've got a child that didn't speak for years as well. And, you kind of think, the tantrums that I can have a whole weekend, I can have a whole weekend of meltdowns still, even the 13s, 14s and 15s, a whole weekend. And when I started back at work, which is a place that I normally make a lot of friends at work, I've had to take online jobs, part-time jobs, or jobs that are very short. So I don't get that. So making friends has been very difficult. It's quite, and I've moved too, so that doesn't help. But it is very hard to find someone and be that someone, what it takes to make a friendship, because it takes two, right?
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for your honesty.
Can I just add on that guilt topic as well? When I go out, I feel guilty that I'm leaving my wife to look after all the problems.
Yes. Yeah. And look, it's something I was going to share with my personal experience, is that maintain friends, especially older friendships, before you had the complexities that you have in your life now. Quite often it needs to be a one-on-one catch-up. They are wanting you and you alone. They're not wanting you and all of the complications that come along with the life that you now have. And I know that within me, there is that stretch that wants to kind of remember the person that was around and existed then, and had brain space for things that weren't around understanding sensory processing and what my children are eating at the moment. But it then comes down to making the other parent, and we've got single parents on this call as well who don't necessarily have that option too. Um, it, but when you do, it means that you're then handing all of the responsibility and all of the weight over to the other person, and then they are not having an opportunity to have some time and a break. And we're very much in the middle of that, and we've been having a lot of conversations about that now, about what it means to have those people who can't accept what the reality of your life now is, and they need to have it without all of the extras, and how that friendship then fits into your life.
But I think probably that person, and I did know you before you had children, that person may not exist in the way that it does. There's a new person. And that doesn't mean it just is, right? You don't have to label it. And it gives us more depth. And that's probably another topic, who are we now? What do parents, but it's very hard, and I found that long-term friends, I don't have a lot more in common, just gone through too much, and I don't have that time to sit down, and it just is, they fall away.
Yeah.
And it is quite lonely, I think, being a neurodiverse parent and being a parent. I think there's a lot of, even whatever neurotypical is, because I think there's a lot of behaviours that are difficult, even if they don't have the neurodiversity label. But it is difficult and it's hard. And I think we haven't even mentioned the biggest stress that I have is time. I don't have time.
And if you did,
I think sometimes even when sorry, Rachel, you can go.
Right. If you did have that time, how do you prioritize it? Is it to catch up with friends? Is it to, I don't know, tidy out that garage that you still can't park your car in because you haven't been able to get to it? Or is it, just to go for a walk or go and get that massage? Like, it's so precious.
Have a shower on your own.
Yeah. Wash your hair, like exfoliate. I don't know. Like, and I'm sure that there'll be, let's normalize the fact that there are days where you will not shower. You actually just won't shower and you feel gross and you really want to have a quick one, but then you won't feel good. So you wait until you get that time to have a shower, a proper shower, uninterrupted.
Yep. And I think the other thing around time is it's not only, sometimes you do have the time, somehow there's that window, but you don't have the energy.
Yeah, I'm tired. That's about the
Zero
T word.
capacity.
Yeah. You've given so much of your energy and emotion to co-regulating and to trying to stay calm and to overthink through situations and to predict what may happen and make sure that you've put things in place so that they don't happen. And so you're like, you know what, today I've got an hour, and what I actually need to do is just not have to think. I need to just not think.
I've been taking the time lately to get out of my head. Like, I found that, isn't it nice to go for a walk? But I go, you know what? Right now, I don't want to think. So I just do something completely brain numbing. I find that, having a kid in hospital now, this is the second year, and she's been close to death a few times, and certain things, and there's trauma, and there's goodness knows what's ahead, because it's still there. It's just, these things, whether you have, whatever challenges you have, it's massive. Getting out of my head, just not thinking about it is great. I think, time, I just don't have it. Yeah, it's a luxury.
Yeah. Jack, have you got anything that you could probably name in terms of how you find giving to those friendships challenging?
I didn't mention at the start too, our son's also adopted, and you think the whole process that you go through proves that you have to be an organised group. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be on the forefront. And so often in my social world, I was the person that did all that organising for the events, and people would come and enjoy it, all sorts of background items. Now that all my time is spent organising my family, I'm like, where are the big events? Who's organising the items? I just want to be invited to somewhere. I just show up and have a beer or do whatever, enjoy your company, then go home. So I don't have the time to do any of the planning, or even the irony is, here's something I'm going to do in 2 weeks' time. Oh, I can't book that in. I know the calendar's clear right now, but something's going to come up. I'm going to have to book something that's, 3 months ahead, because by that time I can prepare for it and get the people in place, whatever needs to be done, and that sort of stuff. So, I find in the end you're catching your fun times, whether you can actually see someone locally, or whether I have some time to myself. It's always at the last minute. It's just an opportunity that just come up.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah.
like the stars have to align for you to, because otherwise you might cancel.
That's another important point is like you getting all those stars to align the details and the intricate planning that goes into having a social outing without our neurodiverse children, all for it to more times than not have to be cancelled at the last minute because they need you. They are just not going to function well. And then when you return, nothing's going to function well for quite some time after that until everybody recovers. So you really do have to make that priority and that sacrifice to kind of go, I desperately really wanted to go and do this, but it just doesn't suit my family right now. And maybe we'll get another chance in 3 more months or...
I know, but it does suck, doesn't it? I mean, I find it, and sometimes I've gone ahead, like I've taken the kids out, and I know I'm thinking, this is not good, because anyone who's got a defiance disorder in their kids know that's just, when that thing kicks in, there is nothing you can do, and you can see it's on the edge, and it's from overwhelm. But you go, oh, it'll be okay. I'll go out, and sometimes I've just done it, and my lordy, it is the worst situation. It's just, and it's horrible. It's traumatic for me. It's traumatic for the kids. As we come back, and I'm like, ugh, and I still got to deal with them, and sometimes cancelling something you might have bought tickets for that you think they'd enjoy. It's quite disappointing. There's a grief, but there's an anger. I am honest that sometimes I get angry. I know it's not the kids' fault, but it's an anger in me that just goes, I can't.
We're human, though. That's the thing. We're human. Yeah. I mean, humans are designed to have relationships and connection. We're communal beings. That's how we exist. And I'm listening to you there, and sometimes I'm exactly the same. I'm like, this Mr. Name is not going to be the greatest thing for him. But you know what? We'll take headphones, we'll take crunchy snacks, we'll take this, we'll take that. We'll see how it goes. However long we get is great. It's better than nothing. And sometimes it's really not. It's really not. The fallout is huge, and he might sleep for 2 days from the stress that we've put him under. And then there's the guilt that comes along with that. The thing that goes with that, though, is our human desire to feel like we can connect and reach out to other people. We're at a point at the moment where we really only do catch-ups at home, because at home, I know that my kids know where their safe spaces are. They know how to regulate. If everything's too much for them, they will escape into their rooms and do what they need to do. And so if you're not willing to come and hang with me here, sorry, I just can't do it. And if you're not willing to the fact that today I might not have been able to walk around and clean up the chaos that ADHD brains do wherever they walk, including my husband, then don't come, It's very emotional and heartbreaking, but it's also a line that you have to draw for your own sanity, because the grief that comes along and the guilt that comes along with attempting things that are not going to work and that you're going to end up feeling bad about taking your children to, no thanks, not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, I think I'm stubborn. I think I just go, no, next time will be fine. It might be different, but I'll try again. And I think some of the things that I've kind of learnt through, it's been the second decade now of parenting these kids, that I go, I'm going to try it, because I know somehow, somewhere in there, it's going to be okay one day. Maybe not this one, but each kid is different. But, we'll just work out where we can next time. I'll be able to pre-exempt. We have I have an emotional toolkit that I say to the kids, what are we going to bring with us? We're going to bring a breath, we're going to breathe through it, and we're going to, certain things work. And sometimes you just got to get out there for your own sanity. But you're right. But see, that's for now, Carly. It will change. And that's what I've learned. With all of this, the twins are now 17, it changes. And I'm exhausted from the change of going, well, now I've got to deal with this. And on one day, everything be sweet as. And that's the day that I'm in pina colada by the pool, and I'm reading a book, and from start to cover, and I've got this amazing, I was going to say tan, but not tan, amazing fake tan, because I don't tan. And it's fine, and I'll be able to exercise and feel good. But that day will come, I'm sure. But in the meantime, just deal with it. Yeah. And I used
There's
to
an episode in what you've just mentioned there too, and that one day I'll need to do that, and that is the experience when you've got neurodivergent kids and you try to go on a holiday.
no, I've done that.
That's
Yeah.
for another time.
Woo! Woohoo!
Carly, if I
Yes.
may, so I guess talking about sort of my relationship and my wife's relationships as well, apart from our neighbour, there's not really anybody within walking distance that gets it. So whenever you want to interact with your friends, it's always a big deal. On the other side of the city, it's just the way it worked out. So sort of growing up with the mother's group or the father's group, you don't have those local
Yes.
friendships that just started from scratch. And then when you do try, we find often when we do try, going out in the public, as it were, just, you'll arrive somewhere for dinner at 6 and go, oh, that's right, dinner might be about 7:30. We can't do that. We have to eat at 6. You have to be home at 9. Oh, let's get them all some red lollies. No, please don't do that. Oh, but how about we do it over a few nights and they'll get better? No, they're not going to get better. They'll never be able to do that. And so again, just back to that, the relationship bit. So therefore, you've got your group of people who know, and they're busy and you're busy, and that's again when things just sort of get small again.
Definitely. And I think so. We've got 3 of us on the call who happen to have the adoption journey in our story. But Angie, I'm going to ask you. So mothers groups, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but this is the exact thing, because we'll also have parents listening who have gone through that journey, and your kids, you're listening to parents who's hitting certain milestones and doing certain things, and it's such a different journey for you.
I think it is, and I think that's going back to what I said before. And maybe it's my personality, and I know a lot of mothers get a lot from those mothers groups, but because I wasn't one of those mothers, and I was a bit older, but because I wasn't one of those mothers that fit into the we shell our peas and the organic, and I'm thinking that is brilliant, but I can't. And that Olympic parenting, I found that I just go, I'm just tired. And they're going, oh, my baby slept through, that bragging kind of thing. And it's coming from a place of insecurity. I get that more now than I did then. I just found that connection was really hard because, yes, I had a kid that didn't eat, stopped eating at 9 months, tube fed for 8 months, and still, an infantile anorexic. And that's nuts. And if I had $1 for everyone who said, have you tried ice cream? Oh, my goodness me, I'd let her eat poo if she'd eat it, right? So, and going through that and finding the answers to that, because there was a lot of blame on the mother too. Not a lot of blame on, you get a lot of, have you tried? Comes from a great place. I get it. I really do. I do. Yeah. More so now than I did then. But it's just not helpful. And those mothers group I found hard. I'd drive away crying because I'd go, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't my child eating? Because there was a time it took me till this was 16 months for the doctors, dealing with the doctors, and to understand that she's not eating, or I can get formula in her. She's failure Thrive. She hadn't grown since 9 months,
Yeah.
So it took that long, but it's all blaming. And I think that's not helpful. But I think, I didn't have a good mothers group. And I had a few of them. There were the twin groups and everything. I would go, and then you'd have to leave early, and then you'd have the screaming and the meltdowns for maybe all afternoon, and then the no sleeping. So it was really hard, but I tried, each time. Yeah. And thought it was me. Maybe I can join this different. Maybe it's this group's a bit more easier. I was desperate for that connection to talk about things, but But when I talked about things, I couldn't be in the space for someone just going, oh, they're sleeping all night, but they're waking at 5. Oh my God, that'd be a dream for me. I found that a little bit of resentment. That's my person. That was me at that time going, why can't I have that?
Yeah. Look, for me, the other thing that I find is often delivered with great intention, but is deeply frustrating, is when someone says to you, oh, don't worry, they're just kids. All kids do that.
They'll grow
All
out of
kids
it.
do that. They don't
No,
do
they
it at
don't.
400% of the other, what the other
Stop
kid is
telling
doing.
me
They
that.
don't do it 75 times a day. They don't yes, it's all kids, but it's very different to how my kid does it. So
But you're also navigating, is my kid normal? Like I was told, no, your kid's eating. Well, she would shove food in her mouth and then spit it out, right? And so she looked like she was eating, but I would find food. She was very clever, even at 10 months, and you think, that's nuts. I'm just dreaming that. Or so you're often going through the doctors, and that's probably a whole series of podcasts you do, because I can't tell you the hideous things that doctors have said to me over the years. Hideous, And as I go into a few of them in my head then, but it is really difficult to find that parenting space where you're your best and you can make new friends and you can talk about whatever you need to, but you've got a kid that you don't understand necessarily in the beginning. You're going, is that something new? The first time I saw Jess kind of doing this smile thing, I go, where's that from? Are you doing that? And she wasn't, and I'd watch her doing this and she's got a tick and I go, oh, so I'm Googling Tourette's. I'm going, oh, please don't let it be the sweary one. Please don't let it be the sweary one. Because, like Tourette's, she's got Tourette's, right? Please don't. It's not the sweary one, but there's, there is vocalness in it and comes up all sorts of, and it's still progressing. Sometimes she's ticking all over and she gets pains from it. You're kind of going through that journey with the other parents, but there's a real disconnect and none of it's ill intent. I know that it's meant. The lady, the woman that was shelling organic peas, good for you. I'm lucky if I can get a frozen pea in, and I feel bad for it. I feel bad myself, and I think it does help if you get, if you've got good parents, I think. I didn't have supportive parents, so I think that would have made it easier as well. Yeah.
Neither on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so you've got all
I was
that
going to follow
together.
on from the comment that you made earlier, Carly, was in terms of those well-meaning place comments. He's fine. Oh, he's been fine with me. I haven't noticed anything, that sort of thing. And you think, that it's well-meaning and well-intended. Great. That's because he has capacity on the spectrum today. Fantastic. But it's not meant to be invalidating, but it certainly is very invalidating. That how that's great. That's been your experience while our children have been playing for the last hour or so, but that's certainly not our day to day. And while I'm glad to see that he's obviously feeling happy, content, safe, and playing here, and you're seeing the best of him. And that's all I can ask is that if he is interacting socially and he is like playing with other children and around other families, if he's giving his best, fantastic. That means that he's probably enjoying himself. But that's not our day-to-day reality. But yeah, I know those comments are very, they're well-meaning. They're not meant to be malicious or anything like that, but they certainly do feel like they completely invalidate the parenting experience because it's not the same. I remember when I got my first child and same thing, no mother's group or anything like that. And, as he's getting a little bit older into those toddler stages for 2 to 3, and he was still tantruming for 45 minutes to up to 2 hours. And I thought, holy Moses, like what's going on here? And I remember speaking to a girlfriend who'd had, 2 children already, a little bit older. And she's like, oh, yeah, they all do it. It does get better. They do grow out of it, that sort of thing. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like I had no baseline. I didn't know that wasn't normal. Or not typical. I didn't know that tantrums don't, of a neurotypical child usually only last 5 to 15 minutes. I didn't know that. And then child 2 came along and they were doing the same thing. So that's again validating my parenting experience. Oh, okay, this is what they all do. Holy gosh, how do people do this with 2 children having throwdowns at the same time for hours on end? Like, how do they go to work? How do they go to birthday dinners or parties or events? Like, how do they do this? I just felt so incapable and overwhelmed. And I just thought, all I ever wanted to do was be a mum, but holy cow, I'm terrible at it. I'm so bad at it. I'm not handling this well, and I don't want to admit it to anyone because I wanted these children so badly. But yeah, so it's just that funny little roller coaster you go on and you think, and then, a penny drops or someone says something to you, go, actually, that's a long time to have a tantrum. It is? Okay. And then the penny drops, hang on a second. Been doing it all the time. triple time because there's so much more needed. But I thought this was standard practice. I thought this was a standard version of hard when people are learning how to be parents. Yeah.
And the irony of that, Rachel, while you're sitting there thinking, I must be doing a bad job, is actually that while you're sitting there calming your child for 45 minutes, where's the trophy and the sticker that you need to get for that? Like while everyone else is dealing with their 5-minute
The
tantrums.
trophy is hopefully silence at the end.
Oh,
That's the
goodness.
trophy. And
I remember
calm
I had,
and, happiness.
I had a friend who had 5 children under 6, and we'd go visit her with my 3. And I said to her once, I said, how can you deal with all the screaming? Because the screaming's massive. She goes, what's screaming? And I'm like, oh. I've kind of gone, she's got 5 under 6. And then she's doing this. She's so calm. She's such a beautiful human. And I got home and going, oh my God, mine is constant, no? And I swear their first word should have been hang on, because it's hang on, I'm getting there. It was more, but,
I think mine is 6 currently, and for the last perhaps 2 years has been training for screaming at the Olympics. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, and there's the horror, and for me it is a horror, seeing them suffer so much. And I think, in all honesty, I have PTSD from being a parent, and I will one day unpack that when I'm on my pina colada, fake tanned lounge chair. But I do have, there's certain things that I see that they're going, like if that ODD comes in, that defiance disorder comes in, there's a part of me that starts to almost panic, and I can calm it down, but there's that, the second child that had an eating disorder, I had to deal, and I haven't dealt with the first time the first child had an eating disorder. It's very neurodiverse to have this, and I go, oh hell, I'm going to have to unpack this on some therapy couch with my fake tan, and because I'll have time for fake tan, that's why it's relevant. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I have PTSD, and they probably have PTSD from me as well.
Not that it helps with the PTSD, Ange, but it's actually very common for the neurodivergent parenting experience, because we do manage a lot of very heightened emotions that can trigger things within us, heightened situations. And, our cortisol sits really high for extended periods of time. So our bodies go into fight or flight mode. They try to protect themselves. And it's bringing it back to friendships. If this is your reality, your parenting experience has created PTSD with you, your cortisol, instead of sitting here, this is now your baseline, and then goes upwards. It's very hard to explain to someone and get them to understand it without you feeling like you're standing with a tiny violin, because if you haven't been in it, you can't get it. You can't get it.
I felt like I was always a really sort of optimistic, positive type person, and I still am. That's just who I am. But when you do get the opportunity to socialize with friends, it's hard. Life is hard. Parenting children with neurodivergent challenges and extra, it's so hard. What have you got to offer that friendship? This is how I'm feeling at the moment. Like, I don't blame anyone for kind of not distancing, but slowly moving away from me, because we can't relate. I don't have any outside experiences. Like, I'm in the trenches here. Everything is about parenting and learning about emotional regulation and how their brains work and what adjustments might be needed at school, and, continual meetings and all that sort of stuff. It's all around the children, all of it. And the majority of it isn't pretty. It's not pleasant. It's not positive. And there are very few tiny wins that you can celebrate. That you feel, oh my God, that was amazing. Ones that you would announce to the world, because they'd be able to go, oh yeah, that's amazing too. So most of the tiny wins are like in your own chest. You're kind of like, oh my God, they just did that, or they just said that. I can't believe, where did they learn that? Or,
and if you say it to someone with a neurotypical child, they'll be like,
all the time.
Yeah.
And you go,
so I don't blame people for distancing themselves, because I'm kind of boring. I don't really have a lot of pizzazz to offer my friendships anymore, and I certainly are not the greatest friend because I don't have the time or capacity to be there for them through their challenges when they might need me. And I feel that acutely, that I know that
Yeah.
a friend is going through a terrible time. And I might be able to flick them a text and check in with them via text, but that's pretty much all the capacity I've got. So, what sort of friend can I be to keep that friendship alive? Like it's not so much it's just that matter of circumstance. It's not just so much people stepping away from you. It's that you kind of stepped away from them too.
So I find it's interesting what Rachel is saying. I find because I understand what we need to do in my family, but other people have difficulties, with a better way of approaching it. So I actually found interesting what Rachel was saying about not being able to provide that support. I find in my circumstance, we can actually provide quite good support, even if it's not physically there, because we know what to do or we know what it's like.
Yeah.
And maybe you actually can get a bit of confidence from that, just knowing that sometimes the text is maybe all that's needed. Knowing how you feel or what you need, you can reciprocate on that because you've been there, as opposed to Joe Average, who doesn't, just, she'll be right, mate, don't worry, it'll all be good in the morning. But we know that's not right. So we could help out from that point of view. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought, I'm afraid.
That's okay. That's so fine. I think, and Rachel, I think if I'm able to some degree reinterpret what you were saying, I think you were talking about the bandwidth, really, weren't you? That sometimes it's just hard to actually have the time, the space, and the energy to be able to share what you have with others because you're spending so much time in the, in the thick of what's going on at home.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Accurate description. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And you're a different person than you were before,
Yes.
and I think that makes more depth. And I know that people that I knew certainly before children and haven't had children, they're different as well. What they speak about to me is not boring. That's horrible, horrible. I don't mean that. But I just go, that was
irrelevant to your current life.
It's fluff, like I think I just don't, I've got this limited time and I love the fact you're going for dinners and I love that, but their life is so flippant and to me veneer as opposed to getting there in the trenches and holding a child for hours and hours on end, and that to me is the stuff. And it's horrible grief and all of the complicated feelings that you don't even understand yourself. Like I said, I'll deal with this after. But it's that kind of how do you connect with someone on that deeper level? Because I don't want to connect on someone on a superficial level all the time. Like
we don't have time for it. We don't have time for that.
Yeah,
we need to either feel like we can be real, or we're not there.
There was this day. So I was going to say very very quickly. I am working, and I need to do that for me this time. The last 5 years, and there was Are You Okay Day. And I wanted to ask you, are you okay? And this person asked me, are you okay? And because it was, you got to be honest and go, you know what? Today I'm really not. And this poor person, they went, ooh, like that, because I answered, because they were going, are you okay? But weren't able to hear the answer. Now, I pulled back and I didn't give them the full story. And I've just got a kid that's done this and I got this. But it was just that moment of you get people asking you, are you okay? And I don't really want to answer because it's pretty horrible, really. I've got a kid on a heart machine. I've got this going on and I've got this going on. It sounds really massive, and it feels hard to even answer, truthfully. Does that?
Yeah,
I think that's
100%. So I've been invited to a very dear friend's 40th birthday party, which is happening in just over a month. And I feel incredibly guilty that I know I can't go. And the reason I can't go it has nothing to do with how my kids will be cared for. Husband's like, go, you should go, it'd be really good for you. But it's because there will be people there who I am now acquaintances with. So I'm not, really close with, I'm not quite friends with them. But we know each other enough to actually want to know what's going on in each other's lives. And I don't want to have 30 conversations trying to explain my life. Because it's exhausting. It's awkward for them because they don't get it and they kind of wish they didn't ask. And I don't want to lie.
That's that face.
And I think the best thing is for me to get in touch with her and say, I really want to celebrate this with you one-on-one. A big party it's not going to happen. It's not going to be something I'm going to be able to do with you. And as you said, I've changed. I've evolved. you know,
Well,
and my life is about things that some people find uncomfortable to talk about. They don't know what to say. And it's not that that's okay, but it just is, you know, it just
I,
is. And go ahead,
I,
Jack.
I have two stories, depending on who's asking. So one of the stories is a little bit about the history and where he's come from, et cetera, et cetera. The other one
Mm.
is, he's really good at scouts and football, and that's it.
Yep. 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 There you go. Yeah.
Typically, Carly, on that story about the 40th, you were talking about another experience. And I only sort of mention this, as for you listeners, that everyone has a little bit of a different angle where your friends maybe help you make an excuse not to go because they know it will be difficult for you to attend. And therefore, you haven't actually been extended an invitation. For I know that it's going to be hard for you to come for the weekend, or and then to find out that you actually haven't been invited anyway. And whether that's a matter of another aspect of the friendship or based on your circumstances, I won't invite her because she won't be able to come. It'll be too hard for her to get the kids looked after. And yeah,
It's heartbreaking because I think people don't actually understand how much the invitation can mean.
still
You know,
thinking.
that you have shown that you have a desire for me to be there. The compassion isn't in withholding the invitation. The compassion is making me not feel it. It is allowing me to feel included, even if I have to say no.
yeah.
Correct. You're making concessions for yourself, making these simple ones. Look, I wanted to see, I have to leave at 9. If dinner's coming out at 7, well, I'll leave beforehand, but don't worry about me. But just ask, I'll be there.
Yeah.
It applies to me, it applies to my kids. And sort of to my earlier point, this is my train of thought I lost before, where I find that we're so used to making concessions for others for all sorts of reasons. And for others to maintain friendships or do stuff for us would be relatively simple, yet nobody seems to bother.
Yeah. So it's one of the points, and it's interesting. It brings me to something that I had down here, and that is the justifications, adjustments, and explanations that we find that we are regularly placing into friendship spaces to feel like we can be there, to feel like we can fit, or that our kids can fit, or that we have even an opportunity to attend. And I think I was thinking as you guys were saying that, my brain was ticking over about how when we have people here, I will always say, do you guys, are there any dietary preferences or sensory requirements or, food avoidances? And are there specific things that make you or your children more comfortable or less comfortable? And that is because that is the exact questions that I would love given to me. Because it could make an opportunity for a catch up so much more successful. And
That's
you've got, and I suppose this is this brings us once again back to these challenges of these friendships, that if you haven't put those shoes on and walked for a while in them, if you haven't got those blisters and your toes haven't rubbed and, the back of your heel isn't bleeding, you're not going to know what it's like, and you're not going to understand why those questions are so important.
But I'd also extend that to any child or any person coming over, or anything, having that kindness and compassion for what someone else is going through, and I think we take it a little bit for granted that somebody will be able to cope or something. And I think that's a beautiful thing to ask, Carly. And I think maybe that's something that we could ask everyone or learn from everyone, because I hate to say it, but sometimes I'm not that tolerant, only because I feel that when I say I haven't slept for days, I get, my child has slept all day and everything. That's not about them. That's about me going, I'm really struggling. And I don't have the words to say how struggling I am, because I want to just have a normal conversation, but it's not normal, is it? My kid's screaming. I have to watch for the temperature. I have to watch the food. I have to watch, other thing. I have to watch it all, and then so when you kind of engaging in those moments, just having some consideration for each. Yeah.
I think sometimes people need, it's a real big generalization when I say people, but sometimes when you're talking to parents who are caring for neurodivergent children, if you were to switch out the word parent for the word carer, what extra thoughts or accommodations or sympathies or empathies might you have? Because I think sometimes the word parent is so loaded that there's this idea that it's well, if you need an accommodation, ask for it, you know? That's your responsibility. You're their parent. But you don't want to be a whinge or be needy or be that friend that's too hard. And you're trying to find ways to make everything work so that your kid is happy, you get to have a conversation, you know, that their child might not look at your child and go, why aren't they playing with me? They're playing really weird. And so you don't want to put even more burden onto what's happening. And by asking those questions, you're giving me permission to know that I can say it would be really helpful if.
Yeah.
I don't know
Recently, we
whether
had
Yeah.
the youngest child's birthday party, and traditionally we've always just done quick birthday cake at home. Family, friends, acquaintances, if they can make it, come over. We have a cake, sing happy birthday, presents are given, and then everyone goes on their way. And I've sort of been, it's been going okay, but not that great, for a couple of years. But we're just getting on there, the sudden influx of people, the noise, the excitement, the presents. Yeah. And so this time, my youngest said to me, I don't want everyone to come over. I just want their presents. I was like, which is very age appropriate. And I was like, oh, but you don't want to see anyone for your special day? I just don't want them to sing happy birthday to me, because the noise and the overwhelm of everyone standing around a
And the
table
attention.
singing really
Yep.
loudly, it's I've been noticing it in other children in these years, but it took the youngest one to actually say it. And so I was like, do you know what? Why don't I just ask them if everyone could sing very quietly like this, like a whisper happy birthday, or we can just not do it at all. It's really up to you. And so she's like, oh, we'll try quietly. And so we did. And I just can't believe how much my heart warmed when there's 20 odd people. Some of them are, boisterous teenage nephews and things like that, are all singing this gorgeous little girl happy birthday in this whisper quiet voice. It was so lovely, because she asked, and so I asked. Whereas before that, we just kept doing the thing that we're normally doing, even though I knew it probably wasn't my kids' favorite thing to do. It did make them feel a bit uncomfortable. It did make them a little bit, dysregulated and that sort of thing. I was like, oh, we'll just get by. We'll just get it done and we'll get by. But that was a really heartwarming thing of that ask, that advocating. And she did it for herself, which gave me permission to do it as well. And it was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've banned the song as well. The kids don't want the song,
Yeah.
but I hum it quietly one-on-one,
Yeah.
just because going, it's a birthday song, sorry, really quickly, and they go, that's done.
Yeah.
They're older, but they don't like that song either. We've banned that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
It's very loud.
pretty
It
common
is very
for
loud.
neurotypical kids as well. That influx, the volume, the tone, the everything about it. Can
Very
definitely see how that is an issue and why it's such a common issue. I was going to mention too before about that radical acceptance. That's one of the biggest things for me. Radical acceptance is going, just because we always sing happy birthday doesn't mean we have to. Am I really missing out if not everybody gets to sing happy birthday to my child because my child doesn't like it? No, not at all.
Yeah.
That acceptance that things are different and that's okay. But next year it might be different again. And it might be, it's just such a fluid scenario that, just that acceptance of going, and this is okay. We can always do things differently, or we can always do things the same. It's whatever works for us.
So I've got one that I think will have some interesting answers, and I look forward to hearing them.
Sorry, Carly, I'm sorry it's hard with me not showing my face. Yep. I haven't been having to think about what you said, and I think as far as accommodations or if you said I was the carer, I have to admit I actually don't like that carer title, but that's another thing. I think it's just the case of if I'd have broken a leg or had no legs, you'd ask, you'd know what to do, you'd figure it out, right? And I don't think people would feel that uncomfortable about saying, look, I know you got no legs. How can we get you in this restaurant, right? And I think it's the same thing with neurodiversity with my son. Like he can be a wonderful boy. He is a wonderful boy. Don't think it's going to be too hard. Approach me, make the effort. How can we make this work? But also to say, I'll give you permission to acknowledge that he's different. No worries. don't have to skirt around the subject. He's different. Now let's now make this work. I think that's maybe that permission to say, yeah, we have to do something a bit different here. I have no problem talking to me about it whatsoever.
It's funny. It's almost like because the disability itself is hidden, people feel like they can't talk about it. We've gone on about the sunflower lanyards on this podcast before. I won't go into them again, but
they're great.
Telling people or visualizing that there is something does then give people this strange permission to feel like they can be more accommodating. But the fact that they can't see it makes them feel like they can't talk about it. It's interesting.
Even if they can see it, like they've got headphones or anything, it still seems to be a hidden conversation or one that's awkward, but obviously the people on this podcast will have not a problem talking about it, but it does seem a bit of a difficult, like they got, they might be rocking, like, or stimming or something. And it's hard to, but to be honest, I get that. So I usually bring it, if she's stimming, so that's fine. Just let go. She's ticking. Yeah.
People don't know what to do and they're too afraid to ask.
Yeah, but we can help. That's where we can play a role.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's where we can play a role in helping and talking about it. And I think I find that is important for me to do, to get awareness,
So the bomb I was going to drop is when you catch up with friends who have kids with your kids. Please tell me how that goes.
Would you stop giving your kid chips at 9 o'clock in front of my kid?
Yes. Or please, no raspberry icy poles. It's not going to end well for any of us.
Mine's sun-kissed. Nothing orange, please.
Sometimes for us, it's reality that our kids don't play with each other.
Yeah.
Your kid doesn't like my kid. And I don't want to make a big thing of it. But my kid will play with yours because he'll play with anyone. But your kid doesn't interact with mine, and I like to see you, but
I've got really interesting social dynamics for both my boys. One of them, so my oldest, he's literally got no idea. He doesn't read the person that he's playing with. He literally has he's got no theory of mind. It doesn't engage at all. And so he's got no idea about the person he's playing with, when they've had enough, when they're unhappy, when they're really excited, when they want to play something more, if they want to alter the rules of the game. He has no clue, and he needs to be completely in control of the play. So if they're playing something imaginative and someone does something that doesn't go along with the narrative he's created in his head, the screaming starts, the stomping starts, there may be pinching because the control has completely gone and he's feeling totally lost. And then my 7.5-year-old is so desperate to have great friendships and connections that he comes on way too strong, and he's actually too accommodating, to the point where if an alpha type leader kid twigs onto it, they can totally manipulate the situation, and he ends up getting in trouble for something he shouldn't have been doing because the other kids told him to. So if we have kids round to play, one will come on and just completely boss the other child around, and they'll come in and go, they're not letting me choose anything, they're not letting me play properly. And then the other one is going to come in and be so permissive that it's actually not going to feel like a mutual relationship connection, and the other child is going to feel really strange about how they're playing. So every time it has to be kind of scaffolded by us to be, you need to listen to their thoughts. They're allowed to have ideas in this play too. What is the harm if instead of being bank robbers, one of you's a bank robber and the other's a getaway driver, And then with the other one, you've got to be like, it's okay, you're allowed to have opinions. You're allowed to tell them what you would like to play. They want to hear from you. They want to know that you're playing as well. And so then actually being with my friend is really hard because I'm being hypervigilant about the play that's going on with the children.
So when my son goes to play, we'll often talk to the group of kids, and we'll sort of say to my son, we're all going to play this game, going to be doing this, and if you have a different idea or things aren't working so well, what are you going to do? You're going to come and talk to etc. And then we either give them sort of a bit of a warning to the others around. I don't know if warning's the right word, but just an acknowledgement that this might come up. So if they see it come up, they go, aha, the parent mentioned this, we can go and talk, and it doesn't become a fight. So that we do that. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, good idea.
When you were saying before, Carly, about how it's easier for you to have people over to your place because, the kids are in their own comfort zone, in their own home, got their own belongings and all that sort of thing. And I was just sort of reflecting on that, on the times that I've attempted that and how it sends my kids from 0 to 100. And literally the excitement of having people over and and you can literally see 2 out of 3 in particular. One will retreat and withdraw and go into his own little world. But the other 2 are like, hang on a second. What do you mean Mum's not going to give me her undivided attention? And so then it's a competition about all the conversations that I've needed to have with Mum over the last 30 days. Every thought I have in my head is all of a sudden very urgent. And, that constant, I remember attempting it a few times just thinking, whew, it was nice to have other bodies in my home. Did I get to catch up with them? No. Am I frazzled? Absolutely. And that, the scaffolding, the hypervigilance in making sure everything's going okay. Well, I appreciate that's the best way. You've mentioned, Carly, that you can do it. It's also extra hard work too, having to think all the extras that make sure that everyone's comfortable in your home and that those in your home are comfortable with the others coming to your home. Yeah.
I think sometimes for our kids, their private spaces are very special to them. Like that is where they feel like they can totally be themselves. They can fall apart. They can have time. They can have space. They can breathe. And so that, it completely makes sense that for some kids, that's not what they want. They don't want people invading that. We want to keep that sacred. For us, we're really lucky, especially at the moment, because with where I live, when it gets cold, it's going to be bloody freezing. So it's going to change. But we're really lucky that we have an amazing outdoor space. So generally when we catch up with friends, we will sit outside on the deck so the kids can play outside if they want to. We've got so much regulating play equipment. It's insane. Which when neurotypical kids come over and they see this enormous jungle gym and giant teepees and everything, they go bonkers. And then that means that if our kids need to, they can retreat indoors and that space is sort of left for them. But as I said, we've moved, and where we've moved to, it's freezing in winter. So we're going to have to see how we can navigate that then. It's going to be a little bit different. So
I am, and this is going back a little bit, but when my kids are weird. And I don't mind that. And we sometimes do this big chant, we're weird. And I don't mind having them. I love having the weirdos because they're also they've got so many multi-levels to them. But at the same time, when those play dates, I think they're so important because that's when we have the chat after, when they were able to listen or in that moment. And even though it was so exhausting, but I remember just having to do it for a little bit of sanity as well, just a bit of change up, but also they learned so much. So I know that now my kids are better social. They're still weird, but I love it. I love the weirdness, but they learnt from those moments. So even in those moments you think you're so exhausted, I have it at my house because it will change. They want to go out to other people's houses or do whatever. I think what I've found in my children is that they did learn social. I do have, an autistic kid that people go, there's nothing, she looks quite highly functional. She's got an intellectual disability at IQ of 52, which but she is quite high functioning, and to so much so that a lot of family members don't believe she's intellectually disabled, but she is, right? But it's this social, and you're getting some connection, and it's a learning thing. And I think it's amazing that you got to keep doing, but freak out. It is so exhausting. And you're right, Rachel, all the questions, all the things. My kids, I call them Klingons, not to their faces, but Klingons, because they would just suck onto my legs because they weren't going anywhere. But you know what? When they did take those 2 or 3 paces away, wow, it's a learning thing. And they did, and then eventually they did go. I've never had the runners. That would be another world of pain if you've got a kid that wants to run. But mine were just, they wouldn't, I'd go to a playground and they wouldn't play, and would cry. Just give me a moment, just even go to sleep on the side. But I think it's so important. It's massive. And I think how we deal with it, even though we're so tired and we don't know, It's really important. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it adds to their toolbox, I find. So how are we going to deal with that? Like Elmo's song about big angry feelings. Well, he just played that all the time. It's on loop. If you don't know that one. Yeah. Monster feelings. The monster comes out feeling. That's a great tip.
I love celebrating the weirdness though.
I love the weirdness.
That's a conversation that happens in our house quite often, and I'll actually say it to them. I'll be like, oh, you're a weirdo. You're my special, beautiful weirdo, and I love you for it. Who wants a butter sandwich when you can have fairy bread? Like, I want the crazy.
Like the crazies. They're hilarious,
Yes.
In
Yeah.
fact, that's an interesting point. I find some other kids boring. So it's like,
Well, they're
why do you
not.
want to play with
Does
him?
that mean that our
Sure they're not.
baseline is broken?
Yeah. So it's like, you're not inviting Fred over because he's boring. Or he's into his Minecraft. Pick someone else.
One child that is obsessed with ducks, rubber ducks. Now, I'm an environmentalist and the rubber duck thing's done my head in, but she's glued them all to the wall. You should see it. It's a duck emporium and it's hilarious. She's obsessed.
Have you heard that? Do you know the Weird Al's song, I Want a New Duck?
Oh, she knows
Look it up.
all. Yeah, I got T-shirts. Christmas was easy. Just got a little duck things, anything duck, It's like late
That is the
teens.
great thing about when your child has hyperfocus,
I
is
know,
that like gifts are just so simple. My ADHD has the battle of like he'll get hyperfocused for short periods of time. And then it changes. So don't buy Christmas presents too early because you just never know
Yes.
where he's going to be when Christmas comes around.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, talking about Christmas and things like that, if you've got, people don't understand that that's a nightmare because my kids were so scared of dress ups. And I remember there was this dress up that came out of nowhere and the three of them just kind of started screaming. And I don't know how I got the superhuman. I picked them all up, had a full shopping cart, told this radio dog, told it to fuck off like this as I'm running through the whole, I don't know how I got here, I'm not that strong going, and people are like, they're gathered around as my kids are screaming the whole thing down at this radio, and the radio goes, okay, am I getting You kind of look at it now at the time, that's another, fetal moment where I'm crying my eyes out, going, my kids don't like those Christmas Santa Claus, good Lord,
Mr. Nine is scared of mannequins that are, and I don't mean shop window mannequins. I mean like those made to be realistic mannequins. They freak him out. They freak him out. So at one point, Angie and I used to actually live in a similar area. So I'm going to mention somewhere, and she may know where I'm talking about. The RSL.
Yep.
And on the way in, they have. They have soldiers.
Creepy.
Like mannequins dressed in soldier outfits.
Yeah.
My son would walk in and scream.
Yeah.
Absolutely scream. And even if I'd be like, I'm going to cover your eyes, I'm going to walk forwards and you're not going to see them. He's like, but I have seen them. I have seen them. And it's, how do you explain that to someone? You can't explain that to someone. All the staff like, what's going on? I'm like, my son's terrified of mannequins. It's like, what are you talking about?
Parked trucks. Do you know how many parked trucks there are? Yep. Ran onto a busy road to get away from a parked truck. I know. There was a lot of parked trucks. But, and puppets, anything like that. So just doing anything was just, and how can you catch up with someone with coffee when you don't know that stupid dog dress up is going to come up again? And, there's a lot of dress ups there in the, when you've got young children. Those puppet things, those shows they put on summer holidays. Good Lord.
Yes.
So I actually ended up putting all three of mine in a shopping cart. And every day I went to see that stupid thing. And I said, tell me when to stop, when you're okay. Bit fear. And I go one step. I got quite close by the end of those 2 weeks. And I went going, right, I'm going to face all those fears. It was a lot of screaming.
Doing your own exposure therapy.
I had to do my own exposure therapy because it was a nightmare for me because I went, I am not just drinks and they were scared and scream and I had to go, right, I have to fix this. So in a shopping cart, fill them with all their favourite things and we're just going to take an extra step because we can do that. We're going to watch it and stay there. It just, park truck one, I had to just hold her as she was screaming and so she went on a road. She nearly got hit by a real car. From parked trucks. Yeah. She still gets fearful seeing them, 17, but she goes, it's because you don't know when they'll start up. Because I went, why parked trucks? And I don't have the words because they would start up loud. was that loud sound. You know, makes sense now, but at the time, park trucks. And how can you catch up with friends if we go back to circle and stuff like that? How can
So
you
what I am going to say, because we're going to
explain?
have to find a way to
Yeah.
wrap up this amazing
Yeah.
conversation. What I am going to say is, I tell you what, when a bunch of parents of neurodivergent kids come together, it is pretty amazing how quickly we can create rapport and honesty and truth, because it's what we're all looking for in friendship anyway. It's where we go automatically. And so it is this very, it's like an unspoken language that you know that you're all going to understand each other. Finding those people can be really hard, but it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool that you can be like, oh my God, yeah, no, yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
yeah, my son doesn't know how to wee in the toilet either. It's like all over the floor. It's everywhere. It's great. And and very quickly we go from polite interaction to, oh yeah, my son's not night continent either. Yeah, they licked the wall yesterday. That happened. So
Yeah, and you do, and it's funny. You've actually, there are words. I don't know whether you guys just, and this is quickly, you put some words together that you'd never think that would go together. Some of the things you'd never thought you'd ever say. Like I've said, talking about that. One of mine, we were on a cruise because I thought that would be an easy holiday. It's not. She was lick the boat, and I go, don't lick the boat. I never thought I'd ever say something like that, or you know, or ask somebody, can you make sure the chips are not too crunchy but not too soggy either, because the crunch is too loud for their ears, you know, things like that. You go, I never thought I would ever say that. And I lost a friend over a chip, you know, because she said that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my whole life. And I went, really? This is a kid that won't eat it, and she's starving, right? So, you know, it is beautiful meeting other people that kind of get it, even if it's not the same, because we are all different experiences, really all different. You know, our backgrounds are different, the way that we deal with things, who we are, but we all have this kind of, and I think it's nice that we can laugh about, because if I mention chip crispiness, you kind of maybe get it, you know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's just like police and paramedics need to have dark humor, you know, like we have the things that we need to be able to laugh about to create that context for ourselves to get through the day. And we need someone else to laugh at it too, so that we know that we're not being strange thinking it's funny. You know, it brings us back to the fact that no matter what, we are all humans craving connection, however that connection looks. And, you know, sometimes at some moments in our lives, it's listening to a podcast with people talking about experiences that I recognize and I understand, and I can sit there and I go, I'm not alone. And other times we're lucky and we run into someone and they start talking and you start talking, and suddenly you realize you both have autistic children. And you're like, oh my God. Does yours do this? Have you experienced when that happens? How do you cope with this? And it's like a blind has been opened in front of your eyes. So I want you to describe, in terms of where you're at now, I want 3 words on your thoughts on friends. So, Jack, I'm going to call on you first.
After wife.
Yep. A friend who's there, knows, sees it, is in the muck. Yep. Not bad advice at all there, Jack. Rachel?
So it was 3 words.
On how you feel about friendship in your life right now.
Excluded, hopeful. We'll get back on track. I don't have a third, I don't think.
That is so fine.
Excluded and hopeful.
2 big, powerful words. Yep.
3 words, mate.
I know, I've just asked an orator to cut it down to 3 words.
Look, seeking, you know, lonely, because it's lonely. And I like Rachel's word, hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think time.
I'm using lonely as my third for you. Thank you for that contribution. Good. It's lonely but hopeful.
Agreed.
It's like a dating dating pretty well.
It's dating.
Well, I
It is
suppose it is
exactly
seeking
like
friendship.
dating.
Hey,
Yeah.
It is.
there's an
It's
app
relationship.
creation. There's
Yeah.
an app creation. An app for neurodivergent parents to make friends.
There's lots of places that you can go to, but I was, I don't know, time.
Yeah, time.
What's yours, Carly?
Yeah, mine would be grief.
Yeah.
I think hopeful is a great one.
Mm.
I really like that word. And I'm going to say realistic. And what I mean, I feel like I need to kind of clarify that. And that is that I need to be realistic within myself of where my life is right now, my kids' life is right now, where the world is right now. And understand that it's not necessarily personal, that it's not working the way we would like it to.
Yeah. That radical acceptance.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, you amazing group of people, for just sharing so many anecdotes, stories, thoughts, methodologies, just your honest and true selves. I'm very, very grateful. Loved this chat. Really, really loved it. I'm extremely grateful. Thank you for this conversation. I definitely look forward to having more lived experience chats in the future. These parents could give me a heads up if they'd be down for doing this again, because I'm sure we can find plenty more topics. And to all of our listeners, have a beautiful day. Thank you so much. Be sure to check the show notes on our website for any links and references. You can find us at youcangrowyourownway.podbean.com. And if you found this episode helpful, we would love you to help us get the word out. You can share the podcast, tell a friend, and be sure to click the follow or subscribe button so you can access all our new episodes. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, where we would love to connect with you. You Can Grow Your Own Way recognises Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of this place, now known as Australia. We're coming to you from Jabberung, Jawajali and Wadawurrung country, the country of our guest speaker, and from wherever you are listening. We respect the elders of the past and present, and we share our friendship and kindness.